my name is Liz and I sell on Poshmark, eBay, and Mercari. And today I am doing a recap of my best sales of the second half of the year. I did a video in the beginning of July that was for the first 6 months, and then this one is July through filming this the last day of the year. So right to the end of the year, unless I have a couple amazing sales the last couple days, most likely this is the final list. I am going to talk about my 53 best sales of the year, and the lowest price is $45, going all the way up to the best sale. These aren't necessarily my highest profit. They're just based on the selling price. So some of the things that I sold for $30 may have come from the bins and been very lightweight and had been a better profit than these items, but this is just based on selling price. So going to share the selling price, how much I ended up making from it, how much I bought it for, and how long they were listed in my closet. The majority of these are Poshmark sales. There's a couple other ones thrown in here, but the vast majority are Poshmark, as that is my best platform. So the first one is a tank top from ALC. It was called the Yasmin tank, and it was from a haul that I did not too long ago, and there's quite a few items on this list from this sale. It was an estate sale that had an insane amount of designer clothes that I got a lot from, and I'll try and link that video because it's a really great haul and has some brand names that may be useful to you to learn. So this tank top sold for $45, which after fees I got $36, and I paid $12 for that tank top at the estate sale. So after the cost of everything and what I paid for it, I made $24 on this piece, and it sold in November. It was listed for 30 days. The next item also sold for $45, and this was 3 sets of brand new Bombas socks. And I don't sell a ton of socks. It's definitely not something I make a habit of selling, although if I could find these all the time, I would. I think these were compression socks particularly, and they were all in the package. I paid $9 for all of these. After Poshmark fees, I made about $33. Profit that was $24, and they only took 16 days to sell. Next, we have a pair of Ariat horseback riding pants. This is not something that I find a ton of in my area, but if you are in more of, a rural area, this might be something that you come across. So Ariat is a great brand to look out for in shoes as well. But these sold for $45. Again, I make $33.02 after Poshmark fees, and I got these for only $6. So my profit after all my fees was $27.02, and those were listed for 52 days. Next is I found 2 identical pairs of these Lululemon Align joggers, and I'm sure we've all kind of been experiencing that Lululemon isn't doing quite as well as it was a couple years ago, but these did really well. The Align material is popular, but particularly these joggers were great. I believe they were both a size 12 too, which was even better. One pair sold for $45 and the other pair sold for $50, and they were both $6 when I bought them. I only have the $45 pair calculated here, but I made $27.02 after all my fees, and that was, a couple dollars more for that $50 pair, and they sold within 2 days, both pairs. So that is a style that I will definitely keep an eye out for in the future. Next is a pair of Free People jeans, and I honestly can't tell you the last time before these that I had picked up a pair of Free People jeans, because I typically find really skinny ones lower rise, not anything interesting, but these had amazing embroidery on them. So I grabbed them. They also sold for $45 and I made $39.70 after fees. So I guess these were either a full price sale or I received an offer to me because there wasn't a shipping discount, I'm thinking, on those. I paid $10 for them at the thrift store and I make $29.70 after everything, and they were only listed for 1 week. Couple more $45 ones. I think this was probably a popular price point because I list a lot of things at $60, and then my Posh VA sends 25% off offers, and I think $45 is that offer, so that's probably why there's quite a few of those. But this was the Sophia blazer from Sundance, and I would love to find more Sundance than I do. My area isn't necessarily the most boho, so I don't find a ton of that kind of stuff, but this was a really pretty velvet blazer in like an orange color. Like I said, sold for $45. After Poshmark fees, I got $36. And I only paid $6 for this piece, so $30 was my profit after this one. But it was listed for 137 days, which is not near as long as some items on this list, but it is longer than I'd like for things to be. But this was kind of a unique piece, so not totally shocked that it took a little while to sell. The next piece is a Lily Pulitzer dress that was from my own closet. So I don't know if I bought this piece full price or if I had bought it secondhand at some point, but you know, that had a much higher price point, but I wore it multiple times, and so I don't really calculate the price of my own stuff that I'm selling in the same way I do for the stuff that I pick up distinctly to sell. So I'm not honestly sure what my actual profit is. I'm sure if you didn't count that I wore it and got use out of it, I lost lots of money on this. But as a reseller, I'm just happy to make something back on my own clothes after I'm done using them. So this sold for $45. I make $33 after Poshmark fees, and you know, that's profit in my books, but technically I probably lost money. So think of that how you'd like, but I always advocate for picking up Lily Pulitzer. It's something I love, something that I love to list because the styles and everything make me happy. So I'm sure you have pieces like that as well. But that was listed for 170 days in my closet, which is longer than the typical Lily piece, especially the ones that are my own, stay in my closet, but fine with me that it, you know, eventually sold for a good price. Next is the first sale on the list that is not Poshmark, and this one actually sold on Depop. I had a period of time in like the summer that Depop was doing great for me, and then it's been kind of slow this second half of the year, so it's something I definitely want to work on more in the new year, is to grow my Depop a little bit. But this was the last $45 sale, and this was a Free People Movement jacket that sold. I think it was called the Seeing Stars jacket, and it was this really pretty light purple fuzzy piece. So after the platform fees, which are less than Poshmark's, I made $42.68, and I bought this at the bins, so it was very inexpensive. I mean, it's a bigger piece, so like I did pay a little more for it at the bins, but I estimated around $4, and that sold in August. I'm not 100% sure how long it was in my closet for, because I don't have that kind of statistic from Depop, but I made $38.68 after all the fees and what I paid for it. Next is another piece from that estate sale haul, and this was a Farm Rio sweater. It was like a leopard print in a pretty green color. Kind of, I mean, Farm Rio is known for really printed pieces, but this isn't what I would say is like, you don't go to Farm Rio for animal print as much as you do like some of their other kind of styles of prints. So this wasn't like a hot ticket item from them, but it sold for $48. After Poshmark fees, I made $35.42, and I bought it for $11 at that sale. So I make $24.42 after all the fees, and it sold in just 7 days. Now we're gonna have a bunch at $50, which is another very typical price point that I price stuff at in my closet. So a lot of these were actually full price sales, or this first one was an offer to me, but a lot of them were full price, which is always great because on Poshmark, I would say a full price sale is like 10% of my sales. So love to see so many of them here. This first one was a Marc Jacobs purse that I got in a ThredUp DIY designer box that I opened. It sold for $50. After Poshmark fees, I get $40, and I paid $20 for each piece in the ThredUp DIY designer boxes. So I get $20 after, but this piece was honestly kind of not in great shape. It was totally usable, but the leather had a little bit of peeling and some scratches, and there was stains inside. So I was happy to get that for this, especially since Marc Jacobs isn't always the best selling brand. So I was totally fine with that. But it did take 270 days to sell in my closet, which is probably in like the top 8 longest that's on this list would be my guess. So not great, but happy that I still made some money on it after having that high cost of goods. Next up is a brand that I would definitely recommend being on the lookout for, particularly in like occasion dresses, and that is Baltic Born. This was the Octavia style, and it was a full-length dress in like a shimmery burgundy, which was perfect for the holiday season. It sold for $50. I paid $12 for it, so it was $28 is what I made after everything. I don't normally pay $12 for something that's only gonna sell for $50, but I know that this brand does really well for me, and it sold in only 6 days, so I was happy to grab that for a quick sale. Next up is another piece from the estate sale haul, and it was this Wilfred vegan leather vest, and I have to say that Aritzia's vegan leather is some of the softest vegan or non-vegan leather that I've ever felt. If you're looking for non-leather products, I highly recommend theirs. Every time I find it, I'm like shocked that it's not lamb's leather. So this sold for $50, $40 after fees, and I paid $12 for this as well at the estate sale. So this one I get $28, and it was only in my closet for just over a month, so totally happy with that sale. And up next in our $50 sales is a dress from the brand Black Halo, which is a really great brand, very expensive. Sometimes it does better than others in resale. I've had a few pieces go for over $100. This style was not super popular, but it was kind of a very bright like aqua color, so maybe that had something to do with it. But I paid $7.50 for this, so I made $32.50 after all the fees. But it was listed in my Poshmark closet for 339 days, so almost a year, which definitely is not the goal here because we don't want to store pieces for that long. But when you're making a decent profit, it's not the end of the world. Next up is a piece that is kind of the testament to list pieces any time of year because you never know what is going to sell. And that is this pair of J. Crew tartan heels. So you would assume that someone was buying these for the holidays, but they sold in the middle of August. So I guess someone was looking early. Maybe they were doing family photos or something. But sold for $50, made $40 after fees. I bought them for $7, so I got $33 after as my profit. And they were listed for 144 days, so I guess I probably listed them not too long after last holiday season, but selling in August is great with me. And the same kind of thing goes for this next piece, because this was a kid's Overmeyer ski jacket. I definitely don't pick this brand up every single time I see it. Jackets are really big to store sometimes, and they're not always my favorite. This one was really fun as a print for kids, and I only paid $5 for it, which was great for a kid's coat. So it sold for $50. I make $40 again. Sorry, you're hearing me say that same price over and over again, but $35 as my profit. And that was only listed for 9 days, and that sold on July 23rd. So really, you never know what's gonna sell. It's a surprise every single time, honestly. So list your jackets in the summer, list your bathing suits in December. You don't know where someone's going on vacation or where they live, so you never know what someone's gonna need. Okay, this was a super quick sale, and this was a Patagonia women's better sweater with the full zip. Again, sold for $50. I only paid $5 for this. It had a stain on the front that looked like someone just dropped some food on them, and it came right out in the wash. So I'm guessing that's why it was still at the thrift store and hadn't gotten scooped up right away. But I'm pretty good at this point of telling which kind of stains I think I'll be able to get out easy or not. So when something looks easy, I'm willing to take the risk on it. So I profited $35 after all the fees and everything, and it sold the next day after listing. So always exciting when that happens. Next up, we have two Madewell pieces back to back. The first one is Night Flower Maxi Dress, which also sold for $50. I only paid $5. So again, that $35 profit, which I am totally happy with. I am very much a bread and butter seller. I find some really great brands around me, but they don't make up all my sales. I would rather have smaller sales that I am getting consistently than, just a couple times a week selling really big items. So that's kind of my business model. But this one took 60 days to sell. So I would say that is a good range in my opinion. I'd like things to sell under 90 days would be ideal, but we know that certainly doesn't always happen. But I think in 2024, I'd like to kind of pay more attention to the age of the items in my closet, and considering that in my pickups more than I probably have been. Next up, I believe is the first time I have sold a Madewell bag, and this was the Somerset backpack. It was kind of like a drawstring one that became more of a bucket bag style as a backpack. I actually found this at the bins and was super surprised that it hadn't gotten picked up. I think I found it in a clothing bin, so I was thrilled to find it. It was in really great shape. I just put a little bit of leather conditioner on it and it was good to go. So I only bought this for about $4 after the weight of it, and I made $36 after profit, and it sold in just one day. So another really nice quick sale, but not as quick as this next sale, which I think is the only non-clothing, shoes, bags type item on my list, which I don't sell a ton of hard goods or non-clothing items, but it is fun every time I do come across something great. So this is actually a toy from the brand Jellycat. So this has a lot of popularity right now. If you look at stuffed animals at all, Jellycat is definitely one to be on the lookout for. My thrift store sells stuffed animals in a big bag usually, so you have to buy the whole bag even if you just want one. But I do try to take a look at them at least every few times that I go to the thrift store, and this one was new with tags, so I noticed it right away. It was the Whizzy Truck was the name of it, and this was a totally sold out rare piece when I looked it up, so that was really exciting. I probably could have sold it for a little bit more, but this offer came in like a half an hour after I listed it for, I think they first offered me 35. I had it listed at 75. So we countered a couple times and settled on $50, which I was fine with for a sale in under an hour of listing. I'm not gonna necessarily hold out for the price. I was happy with that. I only paid $6 for the whole bag of stuffed animals. Now this was the only one that was worth keeping in it, but $6 to make 33 in very little time is cool with me. Next up is another Madewell sale, and this was again $50. I found this oversized trucker denim jacket at the bins. It was a really nice style of denim jacket. A lot of the times you find the, more fitted, really like cropped ones, which aren't nearly as popular. So I was really excited that this was a great style. I paid about $4 for it, so making 36 on this one, and it sold in 42 days, so great sale again, in my opinion. The next two are Lily Pulitzer sales, so they were both pieces from my own closet. This first one sold for $50. Again, I don't know what I paid for these pieces. They were all worn by me, I believe. Every once in a while I have one that I never wear and it's new with tags, but I don't think that was any of these pieces or either of these two. But it sold for $50, so I make $40 after. This one was listed for 200 days, which is surprising. These were the Corso pants, which is a very popular style of pants from Lily, but these were very golf specific, so maybe that's why that people probably would only really wear them to play golf or as a golfer. So just something interesting to note. And the next one sold on eBay, and that was the Carlotta stretch shift dress, and this was a black dress with some gold detailing around the neck. This was my own, but I do sometimes pick up Lily solids. They don't always do as amazing as others, but this is more of like a cocktail dress or like a dress you'd wear out to a nice dinner. So I would probably still pick this up for a good price at the thrift store. I make $42 after the fees from eBay, and this took 130 days to sell. This next sale is kind of interesting because this was a set of new tag Ralph Lauren gloves. They're leather gloves. I found, I think, 6 or 8 pairs of them at the thrift store one day, and they were only $5 a pair. I knew that they probably retailed for some ridiculous amount of money, and I was kind of hoping that maybe more of them would sell for the holiday season, but this is the only pair that has sold so far. I don't mind. They take up very little space in my inventory, so happy for them to sell as they go. I think this pair alone probably paid for all the other ones, so we'll see how long they take to go. But these sold for $51, which must have been an offer to me because that's a weird price. I make $40.80 after the Poshmark fees. My profit was $35.80, and they only took 9 days to sell, and we'll see how long the rest take to go. Next up is one of the very few men's items that are on the list, and these are a pair of All Saints Chukka boots. I actually found these at Plato's Closet. I don't find men's shoes very often there that are worth grabbing. They price their sneakers very high, and I don't know enough about sneakers to really do anything with those, so I was excited to find a brand that I was familiar with. These sold for $56, so I make $41.82 after the fees, but I did pay $18 for these, so I just make about $24 profit, but was fun to experiment. I don't think I've sold any other All Saints shoes before, So good to try out that part of the business in a brand that I do sell fairly often. And they took 64 days to sell. Next up is another piece from Lululemon. This was a Define jacket in like a blue that had a little bit of a design to it. I find a lot of Lululemon, but very little jackets, outerwear, sweatshirts. I've never found a scuba. So I did snag this for $15 when I saw it because I had never sold a Define jacket. But this sold for $56. I make $46.37 after the Poshmark fees, which leaves me with $31.37 as my profit, and it took just about 100 days for this one to sell. Next up, also for $56, was this pair of Veronica Beard Carly, I think they were like the flare or the kick flare jeans in a dark wash. I have had this style a few times. But this one was great because I only paid $5 for them. Usually I've had to pay a little bit more. It's a style that does decently for me. Veronica Beard jeans aren't the best category in the brand, but it's probably the items that I find the most from the brand, so I did grab them. Make $46.17 after Poshmark fees, which leaves me with a profit of $41.17, and they took 43 days to sell. Next up is another piece from the estate sale haul. This was an All Saints denim jacket that was kind of a cross between like a denim jacket and a Sherpa jacket. It was a really nice piece. But it actually didn't retail for nearly as much as I would have thought it did from the brand. So it only sold for $60. I was kind of hoping for more, but it was a very quick sale, so I'm happy with it. I make $48 after the Poshmark fees. I had paid $12 for it at the sale, so I make $36 in my profit, and it sold in just 5 days. So great, especially with a big bulky outerwear piece that I don't have to store for very long, is even better. Next up is a Free People dress that sold in just 2 days, which I find loads of Free People, but it's definitely not usually a fast seller for me. So that was exciting. This was a very current midi dress, so great style. It may have even still been online some places, so that's always helps you to be able to sell it quicker. I paid $11 for this, so I got $37 after all my fees as my profit. And like I said, it sold in just 2 days, so can't beat that. Next up, I think was my only Mercari sale to make the list, and this was a Zara red tweed blazer. And I have had such good luck with Zara blazers. Every time I sell them, they sell for well over $50. I've had one sell for like $125. They're very popular, and oftentimes you can get retail or over retail for them. I don't know why, but they are. So on Mercari, there's no fees for sellers right now, so I made $60 when it sold for $60, which is awesome. I wish more stuff would sell on Mercari, but it's definitely been pretty slow for me as of recent. I did pay $18 for this. I believe I got it at Plato's Closet. Since there were no fees, I made $42, so was really happy with that. And it sold in just 12 days, so that was a great sale. Next is actually another red blazer. This one is from Ralph Lauren. This was a really pretty plaid. Sold in November, so I'm sure it was for the holiday season. But this one sold for $70 on Poshmark. I think that was an offer to me. I believe I had it listed for about $100. So I made $56 after the Poshmark fees. I paid $12 for it, so my profit was $44, and I had that listed for 117 days. But when I listed it over the summer, I was fully expecting that it wouldn't sell until closer to the holiday season. So I was fine with that. The next one is a brand to definitely be on the lookout for, and that is Tuckernuck, which is a website, but it sometimes has Tuckernuck as the tag and sometimes it has other brands. So this one is Pomander Place, which I think is a brand only sold on Tuckernuck, but this was called the Finley dress, I believe. And I have had really good luck with this brand every time I've found it. This one sold for $72. I made $49.60 for this one, and it sold in just 7 days. So nice quick sale. This was a piece that I found at an estate sale, but not the one I have been talking about. I actually go to a lot of estate sales, but I don't find very much clothes at them. So it's always fun when I do find pieces worth picking up. This was a vintage LL Bean chore coat, and chore coats have been very popular this year and last year, so I knew that it would be worth grabbing. It was a women's size, which I don't know if that hurt or helped me. I would have guessed that men's would do better, but this was totally fine since it was a large, so it wasn't like it was super tiny. This sold for $75. I did pay $25 for it. I knew it would be a good sale, so I was totally fine with paying up a little bit for it. My profit was $32 after my fees, and it sold in just 33 days, so a nice quick sale. And it sold in August, so a jacket before it gets cold is always good to not have to store it for extra long. Next up is a sweater from the brand Zadig and Voltaire, which I have only found a couple times, and this sweater was definitely the nicest piece I've found from the brand. It had like, I think, L'Amour on it, something like that. The picture will be here, but sold for $75, so I got $60 after fees. I paid $15 for it, so my profit was $45, and it says that it was listed for 153 days, and I think that's accurate, but it had actually sold on eBay, and the person returned it because they didn't like the neckline of it, which eBay is so annoying with the returns, but you gotta accept them, or at least I have mine set to accept returns, so I took it back, relisted it, and it took like a month or so to sell after it had sold on eBay. I was happy with that profit and wish I could find some more sweaters by that brand. Next up is a sale that just happened a few days ago that I have to ship out today, and that is a North Face men's jacket. I believe it was the Elevation Apex style, which was a more expensive style from them. I definitely don't pick up all North Face that I come across anymore, but this sold on eBay for $75, which gave me about $63 after eBay fees, and I paid $15 for this, so $48 was my profit, and I think it was listed for about 2 months. Next up is another sale that has just happened and I have to ship out today. Was a pair of Mother jeans, and these were the Super Cruiser, and they were like an ultra flare jean, which is great because most of the time when I find Mother, it is not the best styles. So I was really excited to get a good pair here. These were also from that estate sale that I've been talking about. So they sold for $75. I make $60 after the Poshmark fee. They were purchased for $12, which was what I averaged all my cost of goods to be from that estate sale. Made $48 profit, and they sold in 63 days. This one is another piece from Tuckernuck, and it's again that Pomander Place brand. This was the Samantha dress, and this one sold for $75. I made $57.02 on it, so I must have had a shipping discount on that one, or I sent an offer out with a shipping discount on that one. I only paid $5 for it, so got a $52 profit, and it sold in just 5 days. So like I said, a really quick sale usually comes with this brand. Next up, we've got another pair of shoes, and these are a pair of Max Mara mules. They were in a like mustard yellow color, and these were actually my sister's that I sold for her. They sold for $75 and I got $60 after the Poshmark fees. So I'm not sure what she paid for it. I gave her the money for it, but wanted to mention them here anyway. Max Mara is definitely a great brand to look out for, and that was the first time I had sold any shoes from the brand. They took 254 days to sell. We've got another Lily Pulitzer sale, and this one was on eBay. And this was the Krista tunic. I think the print was "Wish You Were There." It kind of looked like postcards. And this piece was actually new with tags. I never wore it. I did get it from a Lily Pulitzer sale though, so I know that I didn't pay whatever crazy full price that I'm sure it was. But I made $63 after the eBay fees, which is probably right around what I paid for this dress. So not making anything on it. Didn't intentionally never wear it, but the sales are usually final sale, so it probably just didn't fit me how I liked when I bought it, but happy to get my money back on it. Weirdly, next is 2 Jimmy Choo sales in a row. So the first one was an $80 sale for these kitten heel snakeskin Jimmy Choos that I found at the thrift store for just $10. They were in great condition. They weren't a super old style. I have no idea why they were still there for just $10, but I will take a win. They sold on Poshmark for $80, so $64 after the fees, and I made $54 profit, and they sold in just 1 day, which was awesome. The other pair though, I got at the same estate sale as the LL Bean jacket. So these sold for $100, so we've reached our $100 price point here. So I made $80 on Poshmark after fees. I have my cost of goods on here as $50 for these, so I only made $30 profit, but was happy to grab a pair of Jimmy Choos at an estate sale, and they sold in just 3 weeks, so pretty quick to make a $30 profit. Next up is, I believe, the last piece from the good estate sale that I've been talking about, and this was a self-portrait dress. The style was, I think, the Eliana lace dress. It was really pretty blue and yellow lace. Sold for $100. I made $80. I did have it listed for higher, but was happy enough with that offer. And since I kind of spent a lot of money at this estate sale, I was happy to be moving some of these pieces pretty quickly to get some of my money back. So had $11 into this one, made $69 after all the fees, and it sold in just 3 days. So totally happy to make that after just 3 days. I could have waited out and tried to get like $150 for it, but it was kind of a unique style, and you have no idea how long that offer is going to take to come, and sometimes you end up making less than what you had originally turned down an offer for. So trying to be better about that when it's an offer that I'm happy enough with, just accepting it. Next up, we have a pair of frame jeans, and these were the baggy palazzo style, and they were very baggy. They were like really especially in the thighs, like really loose. They sold for $105, so I made $84 on Poshmark after the fees. I paid $42.50 for these because I actually bought them from Frame's website when I had done a ThredUp kit and got Frame credit for it once. So I needed to use the gift card. I bought myself a pair of jeans that I think I actually ended up selling on Poshmark too, because I just didn't really like them that much. So these were something I used that gift card for. So I made $41.50 after, and I was totally happy with that. They sold for very close to my asking price. I want to say I was asking $125 for them. So definitely happy with that, even though they took 200 days to sell. We have another eBay sale, and this was the only international eBay sale that made this list. So this was a Love Shack fancy skirt, and it was pink floral with like ruching smocking at the top. It sold for $106 on eBay. So I made $90 after fees. I had paid $40 for this. I actually bought it from ThredUp. Every once in a while I have some credit that I need to use on ThredUp, and I bought a handful of Love Shack fancy pieces on there that were on sale. So paid up a little bit for it, but for it to sell for over $100, fine with me to do every once in a while. So my profit was $50, and it took 84 days to sell and went all the way across the world to Australia. So that was pretty cool. We have reached our top 10, and this is the brand Mercari, which is a brand that this was by far the best piece that I've had luck selling from them. It was a full-length black one-shoulder gown. It was gorgeous, and I believe it was new with tags. I actually found it at Plato's Closet, which is very strange because they don't take formal pieces, so not totally sure how that one ended up there. But I paid $25 for it, so after fees I made $75, and it only took 40 days to sell, and I think it had over 20 likes on Poshmark, so it was definitely a popular piece. A pair of 3.1 Phillip Lim boots. They were the Kate Combat boots, and I actually found these at the bins. They were in really great shape, besides that one of like the pull tabs at the back of the heel was missing, which obviously I noted that in the listing. It didn't really impact the wear at all, and you couldn't tell unless you were looking at them from behind. So still very functional. They were still for sale on a lot of websites, so if you were looking for a deal for it, these were a great pair. They sold for $112 on Poshmark, so I made $86.82 after the fees, and I found them at the bins, so I only paid about $5 for them. So made over $80 profit, and they sold in just 38 days. Next up, and this was a vintage Coach bag. It was the Willis bag. It's a gorgeous black leather crossbody. It was in a shipping video that I posted not too long ago. I had paid $20 for it. It sold for $135 on Poshmark in just a week. So I made $88. I wish that I could find way more vintage Coach than I do. Up next is a bad sale. So you would say, this was a $140 sale. How could this be a bad sale? But this was a Love Shack fancy maxi skirt that was new with tags. I bought this at a Crossroads in New York City when I was there for work one day. And it was a gorgeous piece. It was the first time I was ever finding Love Shack fancy, but I paid $100 for it. And it retailed for just under $600. So I was like, I should make my money back on this, no problem. I was so excited to find Love Shack fancy. There was very few comps for it because it was pretty current, but it was a very unique piece. It was a lot of skirt, it was yellow and lace, and it had a lot going on. Shouldn't have bought it, but I ended up only making $12 on it, and my Poshmark thing says that it was listed for 116 days, but I know that I relisted it at least twice. So it was listed for over a year, at least, maybe a year and a half. So I'm glad that I didn't lose money on it and still made a couple bucks, but definitely not looking to spend $100 to only make $12. So would not pick up that exact piece again, but I do like selling Love Shack Fancy. Kind of along the same line is this piece, but this is the Stod Shirley tote, and I had actually bought this for myself from a Stod sample sale online, and it's a gorgeous bag. It just was too big for me, so I never used it. I got it and I was like, I don't really see myself using this. I'm much more of like a crossbody person. It was like this big of a tote bag. I thought it was more like this big. So I ended up listing it on Poshmark, hoping to just make my money back on it. I ended up making $17. It sold for $140. So obviously wasn't intending to sell that one, but still cool that I made almost 20 bucks on it. And Stod is a great brand to know if you can find it at a much lower price point. But that one only took 42 days to sell, so not too bad, even though it was kind of an accident. Top 5 is a sale by Carolina Herrera. This was a polka dot sweater that I found at the thrift store. It had like really big avant-garde shoulders. It was a really cute piece. My thrift store had it for sale at like $125 or something, and I saw it and I was like, I have 50% off, I'm not buying this for this price. But then it was still there when it was the 75% off day, so I went ahead and grabbed it for $30. So when it sold for $150, I was pretty happy with that. I profited $90 on it, and it took 135 days to sell, which I am totally fine with to make $90. So this is Stod again, and this was the Wells mini dress in tangerine. It was a really current, super cute dress. I believe it was new with tags that I found at Plato's Closet. I had a crazy good day at Plato's Closet one day over the summer. That was super fun. I found Love Shack Fancy in this, and I don't even remember what else, but amazing brands for Plato's Closet. I only paid $8 for this, so it sold for $150 on eBay, and my profit was $119, and it sold in just 35 days, so I was thrilled with that one. Number 3 is a brand I had never heard of before, and I found this at the bin. The brand is Henrik Vibskov, I believe is how you say it. And this was actually a runway piece. It was from the Jaw Nut Piece collection, which is just a super weird name, but it was this really long cardigan from the runway collection. I was able to find a picture of someone wearing it in a fashion show, which I don't think I've ever had that before, so that was cool. Especially to find it at the bins. This sold for $200, so I made $160 on Poshmark after fees, and at the bins it only cost me about $3, so I had $157 profit, which was awesome, and it sold in 163 days, so a little long, but not bad for a really unique piece. At that high price point, and it actually sold for full price, so that was amazing. Next up, our second highest sale was a Stella McCartney velvet blazer, and it was kind of a tuxedo style women's blazer in a blue velvet. It was gorgeous. That sold for $298, which I believe was an offer to me. It sold in like mid-November, so I'm guessing it was something for the holidays. I paid $35 for that at the thrift store. My profit was $203.40 after all my fees on Poshmark, but that did take 418 days to sell, which if I'm going to make that much money on it, I am okay with. Would absolutely love for it to not have taken a year to sell, but I'm glad that I held out and didn't pull it to send to the RealReal, because I would have made way less money on it then. And my best sale of the year was so exciting. I believe this is my best sale ever on Poshmark, eBay, Mercari, any of those websites. I did have something sell for more at the Real ones, but this was my best, like, me shipping out the item personally sale. So this was a Lily Pulitzer vintage men's blazer. The style was the Charles blazer, and it was in the print tail lights. Lily Pulitzer men's blazers are very collectible. They do not make them anymore. It has been a while since they have made them. There's very limited stock of them out there. Like, I couldn't find a single other one of this print listed anywhere on the internet when I had mine. So that was really cool. I saw it at the thrift store, knew exactly what it was. I paid $100 for it, which is obviously paying up, but I was very confident that I could at least double my money on it. So when it sold for full price of $600, I was thrilled. It was the first time I had ever sent something to Poshmark authentication, which obviously it passed the authentication, and it was, you know, not something that's really faked. But I made $480 after the Poshmark fees and $380 after my cost of goods, and it sold in 67 days, which I did not think was bad at all for how unique of an item this was. And it was so exciting for me to have gotten that piece at the thrift store and then to sell it for so much. So that is the recap of my year. I think I had some really cool pieces. Hopefully you learned a new brand or two. And thank you for watching my videos. Thank you for watching them all year if you are a viewer of my channel often. And I will see you next year. Thanks so much.